Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5, at the 2, at the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back Friday here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. We are excited to talk Lions. Lots of stuff going on. Grifka is in the house, and Grifka, it's a Friday. What's up, buddy?
Oh, man, TGIF, especially with the nice weather we're supposed to have this weekend. Being a holiday weekend.
It's about time, man. How many times have we said that? Like, oh, about to get good weather, and here we are in basically June, and I've only had a couple good days. But, yeah, man, I got some travel plans. Looking forward to seeing grandparents, other family, as well as kind of kicking back, hopefully, in the sun and doing some work. Grifka, do you play any games out? Are you like a horseshoe player, washers, bags? You play any of that? Because I know I could probably just obliterate you in any of those games we play in the summertime.
I mean, I like to play cornhole. That's always fun to play. And I play that ladder ball. I don't know if you know that. You got the three levels with the golf balls on the string, and you throw them and try to hook them on the different levels for points.
Well, what would you say your quality is? I mean, because you've never played any of those when I'm around. I mean, that's probably not a coinky dink, right? Because I'd absolutely just tear you up. But I would absolutely take you on in a game of bags or cornhole or some ladder ball, no doubt about it.
Okay, I guess we'll have to set that up then. Try to work that in.
Yeah, I'd love another W against you like I normally get. So, yeah, we'll definitely do that here now that, like you said, the weather is going to turn, be in the 60s, 70s. That's going to be awesome. What are we talking Lions this week for the people?
Well, my first question to you, I know we touched on our last episode, and it has to deal with the offensive line and how you mentioned Ragnow was working at center as the first shots coming out of the OTA. Shows him working first team at center. My question to you is this something that you think the Lions are just trying out for size, see what it looks like? And, if obviously he would be the backup if Glasgow went down, or do you think this is something that Matt Pat and the team is really looking to make it the permanent switch with Ragnow at center and Glasgow over to left guard?
Grifka, you know how the last couple weeks when you send me these questions, usually on a Friday, and I ask you, is that a real question?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that here. I think this is a good question. This is an interesting question. This is one that I'm super intrigued by. So let's get into it. I mean, I saw these pictures of Ragnow, and I initially just tweeted it out and said, Ragnow at center, And a lot of people liked it and responded back. And, inside I knew hey, they're just tinkering around with the line. They love to cross train. They love to have, versatile players. Isn't that what we hear? So I didn't think too much of it, but then the next day he was there, and then 6 other pitchers I saw, he was there at center. I think this is intriguing. I think that they could have looked at their line in the offseason and thought, okay, we got Frank some time at guard under his belt, but they really think maybe, which I thought when they drafted him, he's a better center, a born center, let him work there. So I think this could be more of a overhaul. If they see a lot of things they like, if Matt Stafford gets used to him, you'd kind of say, well, we would hate to switch to center and have that, beginning of the season where they're kind of getting used to the cadence, the snaps. But I think if Frank Ragnow is marginally better, and also if Glasgow is more comfortable or just as good or better at one of the guard spots, I mean, I'm all for shuffling around, trying to find the best mix. So I think it's a real possibility, and it's also in a very early stage right now. But it's very interesting, I think.
Yeah, I know part of it was with Glasgow, when reading, just seeing it, he seemed to call out the defense pretty well, for the line, who to pick up, watching the blitz. I think a lot of that would go into this with Ragnow's able to do that. If he's able to, obviously deduce what the defense is trying to do at the pro level, be able to, give the line calls. I think that's going to be the biggest thing coming out of this, at least, starting the OTAs, checking it out. I believe obviously we're going to see it in some of the preseason as well, but it does give the Lions a different look in the offensive line. And yeah, I think it's nice that Glasgow is versatile enough to be, solid at center and solid at guard, that they can make that switch if they feel it necessary or if it really benefits the offensive line.
But real quick on Frank too, don't act like he's learning line calls and learning X, Y, and Z from scratch. I mean, that's basically all he did in college. He only played a couple games at guard, and then they threw him in the fire at guard and at the pros. So last year was a lot more of a learning curve doing that, I think, than moving back to where he's more naturally suited. I kind of don't like the back and forth is the only thing that worries me, because he probably was kind of just getting set with more of a guard type technique and feel. And now if you move him back, I don't know if that is better or worse, for the short run. I think for the long run, if you think he's the center and the captain basically of your O-line there, the sooner the better you get him there. And also, this might be the transition because, yeah, Glasgow's good, but maybe they don't want to pay up and they don't want to keep him. So you get Frank in there and find two guards that can plug holes and move forward with your offensive line for the long term. But I don't know. Very, very interesting the way those five pieces always come together. I mean, we know you love Taylor Decker out there at left tackle, so nothing to worry about there.
Yeah, it's nice having Jeff Backus there for so many years in a row.
Taylor Decker, man, I think you're great. I like you out there. Don't listen to Grifka.
I sure hope we get to see him at training camp, just so you can say that to him.
I will. I hear he's a nice guy, man. I'll throw you under the bus to him and see if he choke slams you.
Yeah. Okay. I would just bull rush him and he'd fall over, so it doesn't matter.
Please, he'd put you in the ground. And I'd yell, "Oh, baby!" Grifka's dead.
Okay. Next question for you. Speaking of OTAs, obviously, Matt Pat said that they're looking to get a lot done with this OTA, and it's voluntary. And Slay's not there, and Snacks isn't there for this one either. I guess my question is, I know they're putting everything in, everybody's getting comfortable with each other. Without two of the big guys on defense, just how much do you think they're really going to get done? And are you okay with these guys not being there? Trying to get, the new guys, the rookies, get more of a team camaraderie together. How do you feel about that?
All right, Grifko, you made it through one question, but I got to go back to the old and trusty. Is this a real question?
Of course it is, man.
Grifka, are you trying to make nothing out of these voluntary OTAs and make it sound like it's the end of the world because Snacks and Slay aren't there?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm getting calls at 3 a.m. from my insiders. So I'm trying to be that guy.
Oh my gosh! And
not all sunshines and rainbows down there in Allen Park. That's why they're not coming.
Gosh, this is why the guy from the Free Press is your best friend, isn't it, Grifka? You got Dave Burkett written all over you with this type of question.
This is straight from Kay Adams' tweet. Okay.
Oh my gosh, we won't go into that. Well, that's one of your favorites. But let me say this. I mean, I never think much about this. Like the only time I ever got worried about these like holdouts and whatnot is back when they had that terrible rookie contract where like you never knew if your top 10 or top 5 pick was going to be there, in camp and in the regular season. But these non-showing up to like workouts, I don't even mind it like the top stars, because I think as long as they're out working with their own trainers and doing their own thing, I think that's almost better. Because somebody made the point the other day, they were like, it was an old NFL player too, probably on like NFL Network. He was like, when you come to these OTAs, like they're running you through all the same drills, whereas like when you're with your own trainer, they're doing things specific to you. So it can actually be beneficial because sometimes you're just waiting in lines, for drills. You're doing the same dumb stuff you always do rather than really specific speed drills or strength and conditioning that fit, if you're a cornerback or, an old lineman. There's specific things you want to do. So I have no issue with these guys not there. I mean, I have no issue with them like maybe wanting an extension either, but As long as they're there, for the mandatory, and then once we get to camp, there's no holdouts. Like, it's a non-issue to me.
Yeah, it's just these guys, Snacks, like, they've been around the block. They know what to do. They know to how to work out, how to come into camp, in shape, and it really gives the other guys competing for spots just a little more time. Obviously, they're going to get a lot of time in training camp as well, but going into training camp, come August, it'll be a little more slotted. And Slay and Snacks know they know where they're at. They know who they are. They know they're going to be on the field come the first game, starting. So I don't really see anything, with this either.
I got a counter question to you.
Sure.
You're the biggest Darius Slay honk on this show. You've touted that you knew he's going to be good from the get-go. What'd you do? Shake his hand at training camp, Grifka? You want to tell that story again?
Yeah, man. I just he was going around handing out autographs, and you were all like, "I don't want his autograph because he's going to be terrible." And I'm like, "Dude, you're going to be good." And he's like, and he just walked up. I'm like, "Hey, man, can I just shake your hand?" And he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Hey, you're going to be good." He's like, "Thanks." And he obviously listened to me. He obviously knew I was a soothsayer. So, hey, everybody. Remember, I'm the one who said that. Thank you very much. Derek thought he was going to be terrible, but this guy's making the Pro Bowl. He might as well start carving his Buster can, right?
All right, so I let you get your non-humble brag in there, but my
self-gloss.
my question to you is so Slay re-upped a few years ago for some pretty decent money, but as we all know, this is why I laugh at people too when like new contracts get signed and everybody freaks out because they have no foresight to know that in like 6 months or a calendar year that contract's going to look amazing, that they're freaking out about. So they signed him and to a good amount of money. Now he's a pretty cheap corner. I think the numbers were like 10 to 12 million this year and 8 to 10 next. Would you extend this guy? I mean, I'm not exactly sure on his age. I want to say he's in his upper 20s, probably 27-ish. Would you give him more years here? I mean, obviously he's been great the last bunch here in Detroit, but you going to extend Slay?
Yeah, if I could add a few more years on the end of his contract, I mean, they're sitting on this money, and obviously, like we have talked before, that the salary cap will go up. So whenever, like you said, people freak out, why are you doing this? Oh my gosh, it's just, I don't think he's one of those guys. He just doesn't seem like one of those guys who got paid and is going to sit on his laurels. He wants to go out there and always compete. I mean, we've seen it in the past, with players once they get paid, it seems like their game goes down a little bit, but. Yeah, if you could lock this guy up, I mean, he wants to be the best. He touts it. I would add a few more years onto his contract. Okay,
and Snacks isn't as much of your boy, but where do you sit on that right now here in late May?
Yeah, like you brought this up before, and I shot a little long on the years, but yeah, you're right. I mean, probably with his age where he's been, just maybe another couple years, even though defensive linemen, especially the way he plays, those guys can generally play a little longer, simply because what their role is. They're space eaters. They're not guys that are not, trying to get to the quarterback where that drop off is more noticeable as opposed to somebody who's just a space eater. Vince Wilfork played a long time, many years, and was still real dominant. And people were saying he could still play another year or two at the end of his career, and he was just ready to hang it up. So,
yeah.
But yeah, just like, if they went a couple more years on Snacks, I'd be okay with that as well. Once again, money wise, you'd have to look at that as well. That wouldn't be one of those things I'd look to break the bank on him.
Okay, so classic Grifka. I mean, just wants to bring them back because they're good players. Now the GM, which is me on the show, I would probably, Slay has not only produced and been really solid, but I mean, he has been a kind of a quiet team leader, good guy on all types of levels. So, I mean, if he wanted another couple years, I would probably consider it based on his age. As much as I love Snacks and as much as he's totally impacting our team, I don't know. That's such a tough one because you don't want to make the guy mad, by kind of stringing him out. But I don't know that I'd be willing to give him a new re-up for real top-end money unless it was 1 to 2 years at most, at a decent number too. Like I'm not raising him up much more than he's making now over that 10 million-ish range. And it would only be for a year or two. So that's where I sit with both of them. But, I think they'll both be in here. I think Bob Quinn has the resources to extend if he wants, but those are tough decisions, man. They really are.
Okay. I just got one more quick question for you. I know I teased this on the last episode about OTAs and how guys are having a good OTA. I'm gonna bring the name up. I just want to hear what you think about him. From everything I'm reading and seeing, that Tease Tabor's having a really good OTA. He had a few interceptions this week. He's looking good. Maybe his breakout year.
How does it go at the end of our shows normally? Nope. It was so crazy because like I'm watching that first OTA video. You know, it's like a kid at Christmas. Like we finally have our guys out in helmets and jerseys and shorts, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta check this out. And like the 10 seconds into the video, it's good old 31 Tease boy picking a ball and going to the house with it. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I tweeted out, you know, everybody's like, oh, look at him. You know, some people were like, okay, he's made one in OTAs. Will he ever get one in a real game? You know? And sure enough, the son of a gun comes back in day 2 and does the same thing again. Now, day 2, I was a little bit more annoyed because it got reported that it was on a Matt Stafford ball. And if you watch it closely, like it was pretty terrible. He just basically threw it right to him. You know what I mean? Like we don't need that from good old number 9. But I did have one of the greatest lines, Griff. I don't know if you caught it on Twitter when I saw that second one and people were shouting us out going like, oh man, 2 in a row. What about that? I was like, don't tease me, bro. That had so many underlying good lines and double meanings to it. It was awesome. So, man, T's living up to that name in more ways than one, no doubt. I just don't see it.
I think he's getting more comfortable, but still, I wouldn't trust him out there. I mean, like you said, this is practice. We're talking about practice,
not the game.
Okay, that's all I got on OTAs. Let's move on to a couple other questions here.
Hold on, before we move on, Griffcar, are we going to get to TD Hawkinson at some point? Because you know, I know you try to avoid him at all costs and think he's basically a bum NFL backup, but I'd like to talk about our number 8 pick at some point. Can we do that?
Sure, go. I mean, if you have a question, I really don't have one as of yet. I mean, everybody. I want to see a little more out of him.
Okay, yeah. Before we get to your other questions that you've so greatly prepared, let's talk about TJ, a.k.a. TD Hawkinson here in the first 2 days of camp. Grifka, did you catch any of those pictures I sent you where he's toe tapping, he's catching the ball in the back of the end zone? I think there was one he's jumping up, high five. He's got some ups. I mean, you've been reading that this guy has just been an absolute nightmare in the red zone and just kind of living up to all expectations. I mean, did you miss any of this, or you got anything to say for yourself? I know it's early.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I think I have to go in my DeLorean here really quick and go back about 5 seconds where I'm like, we're talking about practice, not the game. We're talking about practice.
How many gigawatts is the DeLorean again?
What was it? 1.21 gigawatts?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get out of the DeLorean. Let's get into reality, which is you've been hating on this guy since the day he got drafted. Yeah, it's only day 2 of OTAs, but the fact that not only he's showing up, that Matt Stafford is getting comfortable with him, getting him the football. I mean, for you to just, like, brush this off like it's nothing when if it was one of your guys, you know you'd be loving him. Like I said, this wasn't my top pick, but if he's in here making plays and hard to guard, you know, and it's basically his second practice ever in the NFL, I think that's a good sign, man. I think we may have a very humble, meat and potatoes, really good football player at the tight end position, which we have not had in my lifetime as a Lions fan.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those in an awful long time. Me being a Lions fan for as long as I can remember, I can't remember any great tight ends that they've had. I mean, everybody liked David Sloan, but that guy had stone hands too. But
okay, so what I'm telling you is don't avoid him every show. Don't pretend like any of these things coming out aren't good, because there's a chance, Griff, I know you don't want to admit it, this guy not only could be good, he could be much better than all these other random tight ends you like to make him out. Oh, he's Dustin Keller, right? Like
Keller.
You just throw out these idiots that blew out of the league just because you hate tight ends and hate tight ends in the top 10. But hey, maybe there's a chance this guy is really good and is going to really be great in our offense. You ever thought of that? Because I'm going to bang on you all off season about it until you admit it.
There's a possibility, but for all the people that are expecting to do something his rookie year, I mean, rookie tight ends don't put up good stats. So,
okay, you can move on now. I'm sure I'll get back to TD Hawkinson at some other point.
Yeah, we'll talk about him, next week. So, okay. First question for you. I mean, I'd love to talk about the four-letter network, how much they love our Detroit Lions. I'm sure you heard my diatribe, on my episode last week. But one of their analysts actually said the Detroit Lions were the most improved team in the NFC North. Naturally, I mean, still, I believe he had them coming in last place. But still, I mean, he said they were the most improved. So my question to you is, I mean, obviously we are on the Koolaid Cast, but are they the most improved by leaps and bounds? I mean, have they taken a giant step to reach these other teams, or is it one of those things? Yeah, they're the most improved, but still they have a long way to go to catch the Bears, the Packers. Where do you see them at with off-season improvements? Are they nudging there? And do you agree that? I guess my biggest question: do you agree that they're most improved team in the NFC North, if not the NFC itself?
All right, well, Griff, there's a few layers to this question, but the reason I love it is because, like, the way you teed it up, this is one of the few times where you, Grifka, find an article or something that somebody says about our team that's positive and want to talk about it, rather than where they say one thing that's not great and it's not that great. And you go on some diatribe about how we get no respect and they hate the Lions. And then what do you always talk about? Those teams the NFL loves. What are those again?
Oh, gosh, the Packers are one of them. The Steelers, the Patriots. I mean, gosh, the Cowboys.
Right. So finally you found a good thing. Now, I don't know if your head's been buried in the sand, but like the guys on Good Morning Football, isn't there somebody you like on that show, Grifka, as well?
Yeah, I'm a big, Kay Adams fan. She makes that show worth watching.
Yeah.
She's very knowledgeable.
I mean, no Tori Petri, but I mean, she's not bad. But
that she can speak Polish, and me being Polish, one of my heritage. So right there, man.
Yeah, she's not bad. I love Nate Burleson repping. He gets a little crazy, but he's funny. And then Kyle Brandt from the Jim Rome show is always funny on there too. But Kyle Brandt, man, he stepped up and he said the Lions are going to win the NFC North. And he said, you know why? Because they beefed up on defense and they have a run game and an offensive line. And that just blew my mind of, like, I was watching him and I was just thinking, has anyone ever put those three things together, that the Lions were going to basically go from worst to first? And the reason they were going to do it is because they had big physical football players on defense and they were going to run the ball and block people with their offensive line. It was just like bizarro land. It was just like, man, I want that so badly. So there was him, and then there was one other person I want to say on NFL Network as well that picked the Lions to be the surprise team and make some noise. So, I mean, there's some buzz out there for this team. So I think they're very much improved. I think we still have no idea what Trey Flowers can and will be for this team, just because we really have not brought in a free agent like him. And again, I couldn't tell you the last time a premier guy in his mid to early 20s at a position of value like that has come in. And, I think we're just selling short, like, hey, we were the worst in the nickel. Now we have a great nickel. Like, we have been bad sort of on the edges. Now we've increased those opportunities, as well as we have run and hit type safeties. On offense, we added a premier top of the line, Grifka, an absolute game changer at tight end, right?
Jesse James, man. He's gonna be...
And we've, we have not even seen. I mean, what did we get? Maybe like really 6 games in a row where Kerryon was not only there, but was actually, getting more opportunities and all that. So I think there's so many levels where we've got better. And as we've kind of said, I mean, it kind of does come down to the quarterback. But yeah, I think the Lions are much, much improved at lots of different levels. And it's just going to depend if they can have that mental toughness and if they can put up those W's. I mean, again, it's not an easy schedule, but I think the talent is much improved. It's young, it's under contract, and this is where I think we have to make a run. We not only have to get better this year and challenge for that division, but if we come up short for whatever reason, like the next 2 to 3 years after that, we got to be rolling, man. This is a team I think that can win and can surprise some people.
Yeah, I know you don't want me to just restate your answer, so I'm not going to. I think the biggest thing with this team is that the window is, you always hear like the team's window's closing, teams, their window's closing. I think this team's window's opening. Like you said, they got young talent at new coach, coaching staff. It's second year. So I believe this window's opening. So to make the jump from worst to first, it is a distinct possibility with this team.
Man, Griff, one of your better comebacks where you sort of agreed with me, which the people think is funny, and let me use the bell. You didn't repeat everything I said, which I gave you credit, and another bell for, and you summarized that comeback very succinctly. That was tremendous.
Okay. That's what we're looking for right here.
Absolutely.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I have to go to the corner of the room and get my soapbox for this last.
Yeah.
I just had a good take, found a good article and talked about it, and naturally me, being who I am, I found the article that set me off. How in the heck are the Lions only favored in 2 games right now? I'm not even talking Arizona. They're not even favored in the Arizona game. That is a pick'em game right now in Las Vegas. The only games they're favored in right now are the Giants and the Buccaneers. How is that?
Oh, man. Again, I bang on you for getting upset, but I kind of think this one's valid. I did not know this. I know there was something crazy. I was going to bring it up on the show. Somebody put out a matrix of some sort that was like a prediction for every NFL game this year. And I was like, I can't even understand how people would put that together at this point in May. But it had all the predictions, and I think it had the Lions like tying a game, and it had them losing. If I have this right, it had them losing like 6 or 7 games all by 1 point. It was like, really? Okay, Vegas, who came up with that one to fudge the numbers? But yeah, man, if they're only favored against the Giants and Buccaneers, and they have a coin flip against the Cardinals and crap like that, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm always a proponent that not only is the NFL a lot harder than I think we make it out to be, where people just think, oh, that's W. You hear me going with the positive spin of like they should win X amount of games. I feel like every NFL game kind of comes down to who's healthy, who's not, who has the ball last, like, who gets a break or two, maybe a turnover. Like, they're really all pick'ems in most circumstances, but yeah, I mean, for the Lions to not only be favored, but for people to think, I'm hearing these 4 wins, 5 wins. Like, I remember last year, we had that talk where we were like, if they won 6 games, would that piss you off? And you and Hughes were like, oh, I'd be so mad. Like, I would just, I can't, that would be unexcusable. And I was like, I could see it because they're bringing in a whole new coaching staff, and they really were turning over some talent, things like that. And sure enough, they won 6, but if they came out and won 6 or less this year, yeah, you'll hear quite a rant from me on this show, going off on a whole bunch of levels. So I think the Lions will win and be favored in a lot more games than that. And I do think this is that disrespect card that you always talk about, or just people not like giving us any credit for what we did this offseason. Like, we brought in top end guys that were young, guys that can make plays. I mean, it's going to show up on Sundays. I guarantee it. We're going to have a ferocious defense. And with Matt Stafford having a bounce back, like, I could see us being top 12 in the league in points and offense as well.
Yeah, that would be nice, top 12, especially if they're looking to do more of the ground and pound, control the clock type game. If they can put drives together, jam the ball down the throat and end touchdowns, I mean, that would definitely take this team a long way this year. Okay, Derek, I know you teased it last episode. We had some questions from Frank, so we got a little time left here. How about you bust a few of those out and we answer them for him?
Yeah, man, let's do that. Frank Ribble again. Everybody knows him on Twitter. I know after we pubbed his call, I was able to get some of our callers on the show. Again, we're always looking for more phone calls, more tweets, more questions. But Frank found it fun that we got him on the show. He's talking about his Mountain Dew spiked Kool-Aid. He called you out for a couple things, which I thought was cool. And so he got after it and sent us some questions, as well as trying to get others to step up to the plate as well. So let's go ahead and get him on here and answer a few of these. I just picked out a couple. I know he sent us some other ones as well as some other folks. So we'll try to spread these out the next few weeks. But the first question here, Griffith, from Frank, he says, is Patricia going to find a way to get Austin Bryant on the field? And then he quoted Joe Marino, who I know from the Draft Network, where, let me see, 1 second. What did Joe Marino said? He said, Joe Marino of the Draft Network said, with time in an NFL strength and conditioning program, perhaps there is more room for growth athletically and strength-wise for Bryant. Absent of that, Bryant is likely to be a depth and rotational player. So do you think Matt Pat will find a way to utilize this guy? I mean, they did call him a linebacker, so it'd really be interesting to see not only how he plays, but where he plays. What are your thoughts on those things?
Yeah, he's definitely got a plan for him. I could see this year kind of being like the developmental one, and next year he finds a starting role. I don't know what position at linebacker. I think he's going to have to be kind of like that rush linebacker, kind of like what they do with Kennard right now. But Kennard's going to be here for a few more years. Obviously, with where he played in college, being on the defensive line, he might be, they might be grooming him to replace Okwara. So I know you like Okwara and like what he did and want to see him play a little more, but that might be one of those competitions where to get him on the field, he may be the guy to push Okwara.
See, Griffith, I got issues with your take there. I mean, again, I banged on you for riding bicycles and building sandcastles during the draft, but Austin Bryant, to me, he's a long, kind of bigger athlete, like 6'5", 265. Like, I'll be surprised if he plays the, that Kennard role just because of his movement skills overall. I mean, I like him more as that long rotational defensive end, like an Okwara, where he can, play either side. He can hold up against the run. He can make some splash plays when needed. I mean, Okwara is like 22, 24 years old, something like that. I mean, we just got him. I don't see them grooming anybody to take his place or moving him out of here. They've obviously shown they want to keep this guy. So I think Austin Bryant was a good pick just because he's similar to some of those guys, but he adds depth as well as, like Joe Marino kind of said, he can get stronger. He can be in a program and see what his upside is, because this guy might have better upside than most people think. Or even if he's just a really good depth rotational piece, as he said, I mean, we need those as well. So I'm all for this guy. I think he is not only going to be fun to watch to see what we have, but what is his ceiling will be kind of crucial to where he plays and how much. So
well,
I like that.
My point is with that. I mean, if they announce him as a linebacker, he would have to play that position that Kennard plays. He's not going to play he's not a weak side linebacker. He's not fast enough to be the weak side linebacker. So that would be my point if that's where they're going to play him at linebacker.
Well, I agree, but I'm saying that, yeah, they announced him as that, and yeah, that's where he would be, but I think you'll see him more, again, we don't have another guy opposite of Flowers on the defensive end, so I would think he'd be down there a little bit more than standing up as a linebacker, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. So I think it's a good point by Frank and a good question to keep our eye on, no doubt about it. The second question he had, so he put, will Travis Fulgham's blocking be enough to get him some snaps or even help him make the roster? And then he quotes Brad Kelly, who said that Fulgham, in regards to his blocking, is potentially the best stock blocker among all the wide receivers in this year's draft class. Like, I didn't know that actually coming into the draft. Once they took this guy, I went back and read up on him. The funny thing about Travis Fulgham, too, I got to give credit and a little shout out. We tried to shout him out on the show. I didn't really realize it, but I remember Big Hughes during the Combine, he sent me a message and said, what do you think about this Fulgham kid out of Old Dominion? He looks like a smooth, good athlete. And I was like, Old Dominion, I don't know. I hadn't really done a bunch of work on him. But after the Lions took him, I go watch his highlights, and I did read this, that he's an absolute nasty blocker. I mean, what do you think, Grifka? Do you think blocking can really help this guy? I mean, more so than his blocking. I loved his ball skills, his ability to catch and get after it after he caught it. Looked like a Kenny G light to me when I watched him. Maybe he needs some development, some time, but you think blocking could help him? And then did you know that he was this beast in the run game in regards to blocking?
No, I did not know that he was a blocking beast. But if you ask any offensive coordinator, any wide receivers coach, one thing that really bugs them is when kind of wide receivers kind of refuse to block, or they just kind of half-heart it, because it's blocks like that spring your running back downfield, where they're able to drive a guy, where they're able to sustain a block, where the running back is able to pick which way to cut and go off that. So I think that's going to mean an awful lot for him, and let him develop a year or two, and then he becomes that guy, because that skill, if you're good at it, it's kind of like a running back picking up a blitz. You got to have the want to do it. You got to be willing to do that. So if he's willing to do that, that drive is always going to be with him. He'll never lose that. So that will definitely help him get on the field.
Yeah, I hope so. I really think this guy has some. We don't have much behind our top three receivers, so I'm hoping that Fulgham can be a number 4 or 5 type guy with not only this help in the blocking game, but can also add some juice in the red zone and maybe just be a nice, smooth, big athlete. I think he's 6'3", 210 pounds, put on a little bit even more weight. He's a pretty big, lanky guy, so hopefully he shows out. We can give Hughes credit for that. And look forward to seeing this guy in camp as well. Frank had another question here. He said, do you think cornerback Rashad Melvin is an underrated signing? Listening to Rashad Melvin's interview on Lions.com, oh man, he drops a Grifkism. That's great stuff. Thank you, Frank. He says, listening to Rashad Melvin's interview on Lions.com, he has me stoked. He sounds like he's ready to ball. What do you think? We talked about him yesterday. I should let you say that so I give you a bell referencing a previous show. But we liked his interview too, and I remember writing him off kind of in the beginning, but the more I read and see and hear about him, this guy could be the starter opposite of Slay early and add depth to that cornerback position.
Yeah, here, I'll do it for you just so you can get the bell out. I believe on a previous show, I mentioned that I thought he, could be the surprise starter on the other side. And how everybody said, we obviously, Matt Patricia, he's worked with him before. Patricia was coach in New England. The scheme that Patricia runs fits his abilities better. And he's happy to be here. Like you said, sometimes he just might be happy because you're on a team. But it's one of those things, if he's comfortable with the coach knows what to expect of him, and he can definitely perform to that ability that the coach believes he can, then, this could be a very underrated signing.
Yeah, we'll see what Melvin has. That'll be good. So one more here, sent in by Frank. Again, we got other questions. We love more and more. This one says, should Quinn give Snacks and Slay new contracts with 2 years left on their deals? Dave Burkett reported both are not participating in OT. I got to read Frank's questions a little bit closer before, because this one wouldn't have been read for a couple reasons. One, we talked about this on Wednesday's show. And two, anytime you put Dave Burkett in a question, that's getting crumpled up like Jim Rome, where he just crumples up the paper. Here, actually, I'll do it right here for Frank. Frank, you know what I think about this question? Because you referenced the guy we shall not reference on this show unless we're making fun of him, David Burkett. There, you hear that? That's your question going right in the trash. You can speak on it if you like, Grifka. We talked about it, and Dave Burkett is not part of the Detroit Koolaid Cast unless somebody's making fun of him.
Well, Frank, thanks for the question, man. Much love.
There you go. Frank actually had a baseball thing that he threw at me about one of the Lions down at hitting batting practice. And I said, Frank, we don't talk about baseball. That's like rule number 2 on this show. So anyway, we talked about the contracts and if we'd extend them, what we think about it. So like you say, I need to do a little bit better proofreading. I would have ixnayed that one. But the other 3 good questions, fun to talk about. And like you say, we're getting more and more every week, and we try to put things out there just saying like, hey guys, don't forget to send us questions. We want to talk about what you want to hear. Sometimes we need you guys just take that initiative and send us stuff early on in the week. That way we can read them through, get them ready, and make sure we try to get them on the show. We love your voices and your questions on the Detroit Koolaid Cast, no doubt about it. I mean, there's only so much Grifka we can take, right?
Yeah, I'll talk myself out.
So what else we got, Grifka? You got anything else for today?
Nope.
That was perfect. That was like not even the ending, but it might as well be now, because that's how we do it here on the Koolaid Cast. So with that being said, with Grifka's famous tagline to kind of close up the show, let's go ahead and get out of here. 2 good shows this week. Again, thanks for bearing with us as we did a couple solo shows last week. I got a bonus show in, which was fun. We really hope you guys will keep supporting the show, as well as it really helps us when you kind of listen through to those sponsors. And then don't just skip over those, because there's one of the new sponsors tells you all about how you can hit a button on your favorite podcast app, and it'll take you where you can leave a voicemail right into our podcast app. Basically, it makes it a lot easier for us to add you to the show. But we still want you to call that Koolaid Cast line too. Which, Grifka, you gotta promote this number and learn it. Do you know it, or do I have to tell it to you?
You got. I don't even know my own phone number, man. I don't call my own phone.
See what I deal with here, people. I mean, I'm doing the promos. I'm thanking everybody. I got all this stuff. Grifka just shows up twice a week, and that's about it. So
my face is on the billboard.
Oh my goodness. Everybody, that Detroit Koolaid Cast listener line once again is 989-272 Kevin Smith, Herman Moore, or for those of you that like numbers, 989-272-3484. So please hit that up. I did put on my bonus show. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen. Paul from Tampa left us a call where he was in and out in about 45 seconds. Grifka, did I just say in and out?
Yep.
Does that reference something from a previous show that you want to maybe give to the people?
No.
Like a little Tim line that maybe the people want to hear you do?
Okay. Yeah. I was even thinking little Tim, man. I have to go find him on a corner in Detroit rapping. He can rap battling people down at the shelter. So
I hit it on my other shows because, again, I'm just smarter than Grifka. What can I say? Look, like Paul, he got in and got out. But in like 45 seconds, he dropped a bomb on Grifka, talked all about him skipping the draft, talked about Martha Ford at the Sunglasses Hut, and all types of other good stuff. So that's what we want. I mean, we want calls from you guys that make us laugh and that talk about the Lions and have a bunch of fun with this show. That's why me and Grifka do it. We are the Detroit Lions Fans Podcast. 2 fans talking to the fans for the fans. And with that being said, Grifka, because I went on for a few more minutes, I'm going to tee it up again. Now that I've said all that, do you have anything else for the people?
Nope.
All right. Just kidding around, but thank you guys so much. 2 shows this week. Who knows if we'll drop another bonus show or what will happen with our Lions. It's just OTAs, but any day something could happen with this team, and we'll be talking all about it right here. So take care, everybody. We hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the holiday coming up, the extended holiday. Hopefully have some time off and soak up the sun. And we'll be back next week talking all things Lions right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Take care, everybody.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions!
Drink it in, man.